To our viewers, you're welcome to another wonderful episode of Punch Sports Extra. My name is Shegun Odunayo. Here on this show, we'll be giving you the very latest happening in the world of sports, especially as it concerns events that happened this weekend. So we are going to be reviewing a couple of them, and I'm not here alone. I'm here with my colleague, co-anchor, co-analyst, Abiodun Adewale. Abiodun, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Shegun, and good afternoon to you as well. It's good to be back again.
All right, very quickly, we start with the front page of Punch Sports Extra, the paper edition. And boldly, the biggest picture on the front page this morning is Israel Adesanya, as they like to call him. This is his fourth defeat in about 5 fights now. And, the whole world just expected that Israel was going to win that fight. But, somehow it lost to Nasiruddin Imanov. When you are fighting some of these guys that are from Eastern Europe, I think you just have to be careful. They are very fast, they are very heavy. But in the second round, he went down. Israel Adesanya went down. It looks like some people are saying he should go and retire. Some people are saying he should take a break from the sport. It's more like it's all mouth and less of, action these days. But nobody saw that coming. Second round, knockout, kicked him away.
But then, he said he will be back.
Yeah.
And that's why he's a fighter. He would always want to come back.
There's another day.
There's always going to be another fight. He lives to fight
another day.
Literally. But realistically, if you have lost 3 straight fights, and it's about 45, and in the last 2 or 3 years, it's been defeat. Even in the least expected situation when you're not even expected to lose, if you are going.
He wasn't expected to lose against Imanov. In fact, he was supposed to resuscitate his career with Imanov, and then probably looking up to Ferreira in the future, and
perhaps Duplessis again.
Exactly.
But then everything is not coming together at this point. But if he's taking a break, what does he go back to do? So the best thing is keep training, and if you are training, you don't train without competing. So you have sparring sessions, a whole lot of build up into fights, and I'm very sure at the moment his management will be looking at potential opponents that probably will come. This is still January. Maybe 1 or 2 fights until the end of the year.
You think he will still do any more fights this year?
He might just be able to pull one off, but then having lost 3, the pedigree goes down, and he has to be ready. And any fight that will be coming out won't be one of those stop. He keeps going down the ladder. So anybody might say they just want to come for Israel Adesanya at this particular time.
Of course.
Now. So, but then he has to keep his head straight and be mentally ready. He has talked about a lot of things as regards to UFC these days, the supernatural powers behind it, and if those things really existed, he's been in Nigeria too now. So
you should have given him the home effects.
He should have gotten all those effects too. And
this one, there's no. But sports, it doesn't answer to sports too.
Scientifically, it's not proven scientifically, and sports in one way or the other has some scientific elements into it too. So, but Israel just has to focus on his game.
Okay, I think he was smiling home, because for this particular fight, the financial deal has not really been made public, but Israel usually doesn't fight for anything less than 2.5, 2.6, 2.7, and they said this is supposed to be something like that as well.
He doesn't make less than the winner.
He
doesn't make less. He probably earns more than the winner in all of the fights that
So if you are going to lose that way in the second round, about 5-10 minutes of just doing the thing and getting 2.5, 2.6, 2.7 million dollars, not naira, dollars. It's not a bad way to go down. Very quickly, still sticking with the headlines. The injury to Anthony Rudiger, has compounded the woes of La Liga toppers Real Madrid. They lost to Espanyol. Nobody would have believed it, because it was a David versus Goliath fight. And just look at what happened. A 1-0 loss to Espanyol, and to make it worse, one of their most regulars in Anthony Rudiger got injured.
He will be out for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And he'll be missing about 5 games. 2 of them are against Manchester City in the playoffs of the UEFA Champions League. I dare say it, Madrid are in a place that they don't want to find themselves. One of the places is playing in the playoffs of the Champions League. At this point, a lot of people are clapping that at least one of them will go home, either Man City or Madrid.
One of the big boys.
And if things like this keep happening to Madrid, the fighting spirit might not just be there when they come up against oppositions that will stretch them.
Yeah.
And City will do. No matter how bad City are currently, they will do against Real Madrid.
They'll give you a run for your money.
And with 4 points also left in the La Liga race as well, you'll be missing about 2 or 3 La Liga fixtures.
And there's Atletico Madrid.
And when you think that Eder Militao is out,
of course, Alaba is just coming
Alaba
back.
Is just coming back. So it means they will be having a makeshift centre back in probably Tchouaméni.
And Tchouaméni has not been Tchouaméni. He has not been Tchouaméni. He has been a disaster maybe at that back line.
Maybe converting. So if you put him in the makeshift too, maybe he puts Madrid in more trouble. Maybe he rejects their spirit a little bit and just he wants to hold the house better than those who's been keeping it. But it's just a very pathetic situation.
Very pathetic.
For Real Madrid. And you know, a week or 2 weeks ago, Ancelotti has been fuming over what he call bloated fixtures all around Europe.
All right. Quick one away from that. Marcus Rashford, the man that points his head anytime he scores, finally has a reason to celebrate. He will be playing football again. But this time with Aston Villa. He's going to be going on loan for £40 million. And most of his big salary, about £350,000 a week, will be footed by the club. Aston Villa will be paying his salaries. So Villa just paid United 40 million. People have been saying that's so small. Yes, it's small, but they will be paying his salary. So I mean, that's where the big money is. Quick one, Biodun. Who is the biggest winner in this deal? United, Villa, or the player?
Aston Villa.
They are the biggest winners.
They are the biggest winner in this case because they are in the Champions League already. But trust me, Aston Villa are not the kind of club that will attract a player like Marcus Rashford.
Is Marcus Rashford too
devastating
big?
In his devastating form, he is the kind of player that should be at Manchester United. But
is he really?
There is this whole lot of
Have you seen his statistics?
There is this whole lot of talks about DNA and all of that in the Manchester United squad for a very long period of time. But this is a guy that came through the academy. They saw the potential. If he wasn't good enough, he wouldn't even make the cut. He's done it under different coaches.
His statistics. He's not a special player.
He's been falling off. How many special players are in Manchester United at the moment?
Maybe one, Bruno Fernandes.
And Bruno Fernandes in many big games for me is just like every other normal player in that squad. So none of them is even better than Rashford. But in terms of attitude, I think that's where Rashford has had a problem under Ruben Amorim since he came. And he might have been able to turn things around if it was a different manager. At least at some point he was getting the regular. If he wasn't good enough, he wouldn't even be starting games.
So Rashford is the biggest winner. Sorry, Aston Villa is the biggest winner.
They got him and they will be paying 40 million. And look at how much they just got for John Duran. So he's coming in as a direct replacement for John Duran in that squad. And they have enough money to pay for Rashford at the end of the season, 40 million, and still keep some 35 million euros change for maybe any other player
from Duran
too. So
they bought a few other guys. They brought in they sold Buendia as well. They sold Buendia
to Bayern Leverkusen. So they have.
I think they sold 2 or 3 other players, Carlos, and brought in. I think they are doing business.
So business-wise, they are the biggest winner in this case. 75 million of Duran, pay 40 million at the end of the season. That is if they want to keep Rashford on a permanent deal.
Yeah,
because he will be with them on loan. But where they will be coughing out some money is 300k, 350k, and they will be paying about 275,000 on the player every week. So it means that United are really desperate to throw out this guy. And like he said in his first interview with Aston Villa, he just wants to play football. And you know
what's his goal? What's his goal between now and May? What's his goal? How many goals, trophies, if possible, Champions League? How far?
And that's where it's better for him. He will be playing in the Champions League. I don't know how far Aston Villa will be able to go. Yeah. In the FA Cup, they will be able to muzzle some teams, maybe try to fancy their chances there. They are no longer in the Carabao Cup, but they can fancy their chances in the FA Cup and try to get another top 4 finish in the UEFA Champions League.
Which I think is possible.
Which I think is possible at the moment. So at the moment, even Rashford is in a better position than his former teammates at Manchester United.
All right, still talking about the front page. This was a man who was under immense social media pressure in the last few days of January. And of course, in the beginning of February too, there was a little bit of noise, but it was not as heavy as the last days of January. He came back with a bang. I'm talking about Victor Boniface, the man who was said to be on his way to Al Nassr in Saudi Arabia, and everybody was already calculating on social media his salary. If na your brother did not stop trending. If na your brother, you go say make you no go. You know, that was what was trending, especially on X, formerly Twitter. Well, he didn't leave, and he was back in training and back in the starting 11 of Xabi Alonso. And right then at the weekend against Hoffenheim, he did what he knew how to do best. Victor Boniface back scoring for Bayern Leverkusen.
He needed that for confidence. He has missed about 14 matches in all competitions. He's been out since...
He's been injured.
Since November 24, I think. And he's missed a number of games since then. So he needed that, getting back straight into the starting 11, not just coming off from the bench. And he needed to score a goal in that game for his confidence to know that, yeah, he still has a place in the team. And, you know, it will have made sense if he was just coming back from injury and there was no transfer speculation around him. He would have just been like every other normal Leverkusen player.
Like a new signing. Even
if he came off from the bench against Hoffenheim, it wouldn't have mattered. But he had a transfer speculation over him. As far as I'm concerned, it was a failed move because he agreed to it. He could have left. But eventually they said, okay, you are going to continue here. And imagine the kind of mentality you would need to shake out the fact that you are almost somewhere, earning times 5 of what you were earning, and you just have to continue with what you are doing. And he shook it off like a professional that he is. His trademark goal too.
Yes, kind of goal. Give me and let
me go. No matter how tight the space is,
I'll find a way. I'll find like water.
And all of course, and he gave them the trademark celebration. Very cool too. Came back on Twitter as
and gave us the usual banter.
Gave us the usual banter too. And life goes on from there.
All right, that's all from the front page for us this morning. I mean, if you want more from the front page, just visit your vendor, grab a copy of Punch Sports Extra, and have a fantastic read. Very quickly, move into the meat of the matter. Where best to start from than what happened yesterday? Stay on, boy. Oh my goodness. Arsenal Football Club of England dismantled, battered, destroyed, walloped Manchester City in a game that was very important in looking at who was going to be chasing Liverpool for the Premier League this season, the 2024-2025 season. And at a time when many persons were thinking, are Arsenal good enough to beat Manchester City, or with the sad woes and misfortune that has been with Man City in the last couple of weeks continue? Well, it's continued. Goals are plenty if you look at the game. But interesting was the fact that they didn't just beat Man City. They totally annihilated that team yesterday.
I think something is wrong with the confidence of City. Because if you talk about problems, they've been coming out of that gradually in recent weeks. And all of a sudden against Arsenal, they considered a first or second minute goal.
Boom.
And
a mistake
all of their
players,
and all of their players capitulated again. Phil Foden, who has been putting in some man of the match performance, was nowhere to be found. If Alan didn't even score yesterday, we probably would have seen him in that game as well. So
he had 4 touches. At some point, the commentator said Erling Haaland has had just 4 touches
in the game. So I think something is wrong with their confidence generally as a team. Because to me, they've been
when will they shake it off?
Because
I hope they don't shake it off against Madrid.
To me, they've been shaking that off. But all of a sudden, it just came back.
They capitulate again.
They just capitulated again, and the beats might just go on from there.
But for us,
for Arsenal, I think they needed that to
mount pressure.
Mount pressure. Well, maybe they will just keep chasing Liverpool.
Okay, you don't think they can catch them?
I think the only time they will be able to mount any real pressure is if they can beat Liverpool in the return leg. And that will be at Anfield. A very, very high mountain to climb. It's still 6 points at the moment.
6 points, yeah.
Liverpool could take it up to 9 by the time they play Everton in their outstanding game. Or at worst, 7 points.
If they draw.
If they pick up a draw in that game. So there's still a lot of games to be played. This is just after match day 24. So there are still about 14
We are
matches.
going to 38.
14 matches until the end of the season. They will just have to keep up the chase. But when they can really mount pressure, is if they can pick something up against Liverpool and hope maybe one other team just becomes a clog in the wheel of Liverpool. But for now, let's just keep enjoying the chase. But Arsenal needed that kind of response against Manchester City too. But I see that they've been going haywire about beating City 5-1 and
Stay
all of
humble.
that. They dare not do that when City are at their best. So
Of course.
let everybody stay humble. We've seen the
It should be a general phenomenon.
a general phenomenon. It's aura for aura now. So let everybody go and calm down.
Don't say everybody should not just sit. All right, because even Liverpool that should be bragging at the moment are just still taking it game by game. So Arsenal fans and Arsenal players too, everybody stay humble.
Stay humble, eh?
Stay humble, eh? All right, very quickly moving ahead. Talking about Liverpool, they just have a way of doing it. Liverpool, they just have a way of doing it. Mohamed Salah, he has now gone a little ahead in the all-time scorers of the English Premier League. This man is not stopping anytime soon. Still mounting the chase for the Ballon d'Or, because as it seems, it looks like he's in pole position if you look at all the players at the world at the moment. And his team, Liverpool, and their manager Arne Slot, they are really chasing things right there at the moment. Biodun, it looks like they're in their own world at the moment, 6 points ahead of everybody, with a game in hand against struggling Everton, even though they are resurging, of course, under David Moyes.
The resurgence is massive.
So it's crazy, but Liverpool right now are just having fun.
And it's ironical the way they are doing it. An unsettled Salah, who probably
does not have a contract.
Does not have a contract at the moment, and is unsure where he's going to play next season.
He doesn't know where he will be in July.
He's having the best time of his life at the club. 21 goals and 13 assists so far this season. But they say he doesn't pass. He doesn't do this.
In the Premier League.
In the Premier
in just the Premier League.
Just the Premier League alone. So
crazy.
It's funny how Liverpool are doing it, but you just have to praise the discipline of the team. At some point before Arne Slot took over, I personally thought he was talking too much. But even while the season started, he began to talk less indeed. And
I think it was because he was leading.
We began to see much more action on the pitch than at the press conference or anywhere else. At this point, one of the things that is working is that Liverpool have all their key players fit, and if they in situations that they've had problems, they've had really good deputies. Alisson Becker was out for a number of weeks.
And there was Kelleher.
Look at Kelleher, the way he came in, fit into the view.
Slotted in.
It's just like Ethan Nwaneri fitting in for Bukayo Saka at some point, and you don't necessarily feel the absence.
The gap.
So it's been working, it's been ticking. They just need to stay consistent. They've dropped points a number of times this season. Even the funny thing is they now drop points when you least expect them to do. But
against Nottingham,
they still have that spirit of champions, and if they can keep it going.
they defeated Bournemouth. I mean, that was supposed to be a big game because Bournemouth themselves have been hot this season. Likes of Dango Ouattara, likes of Justin Kluivert, the likes of Anthony Semenyo, and all the big boys there at Bournemouth. But Organa master, and that was what Liverpool just taught them. We can still win. Very quickly, moving away from that. So Manchester United, they said if it rains, Manchester United will finish 13. If it is sunny, Manchester United will still be 13. Then whatever is happening, regardless of the weather, Manchester United and 13th position are in a romantic relationship. What is wrong with this team? They go hot today, they come back to 13th. Tomorrow they are cold, they're coming back to 13th. Lost against Crystal Palace. They had their star man, Eberechi Eze, injured. And he came on later on. But Mateta was just, using them to catch cruise. He got a brace, and if you play FPL, he got 3 points bonus.
I'll pick United's issue from the attitude of their fans. I mean, the ones that are close to me that I see. 2 weeks ago, I was telling them that they've judged their season with their performance against Liverpool. And
they were celebrating. You are saying it here.
If you celebrate whatever you do against Liverpool, that is success for you. But I like the fact that they also realize that whatever they do in a particular week, that no condition is permanent. As I yesterday, I saw one of them watching the game. He was not really surprised that they were beaten. he was very confident that next week, don't worry, we'll
They win.
But after next week, we might lose again. So they know, they've seen that trend of inconsistency. At the same time, too, some of them have seen that, what they call tactical discipline under Ruben Amorim. But I've said it by the time, the first day they brought this man, I told them you are going to sack this manager again. Because there are a lot of structural problems
with that club
that you even need to fix. Rashford was not their problem yesterday. Whichever player, Kobe Mainu was not their problem. Meanwhile, I saw them in the UEFA Europa League few days ago with Kobe Mainu playing like
having fun and getting 3 points.
Like one of the best midfielders in the world. But against fellow EPL midfielders and all of that, you just fizzled out at Old Trafford.
Like a pack of cards.
It's embarrassing. And I think Amorim himself has even admitted it. In about how many months in the job now? He says he has even aged 10 years. So the job comes with a lot of pressure. And that inconsistency, I think, is something they can easily trace.
Do you think Manchester United will finish in any European qualification position this season?
They will struggle to be in the, what do you call it? They will just struggle to come out of the bottom half of the table.
Wow. So they are not making top 4, top 5, top 6, nothing.
They will be praying for many other teams there. It's not totally in their hands. They will be praying for a lot of teams.
Likes of Nottingham.
To flop before they can squeeze themselves into maybe trying to play in Jerusalem next season.
That is where Chelsea are doing. All right, you know, that is it for the English Premier League teams. Even though Chelsea will be playing against West Ham today, preview, Biodun, do you think there's a 3 points waiting somewhere for Chelsea? Or you think this former Chelsea manager, the gentle one from Brighton, what's his name again, who is the new manager of West Ham, would somehow get 3 points? Graham Potter.
The American.
Yeah, a man that just likes things easy peasy.
I think he's been talking about his time at Chelsea lately too. Because of the fixture that is upcoming. But I like the fact that Chelsea fans are now humble these days.
Humility is going round.
Let everybody just stay humble. So since this time that they said we are not in the title race and all of that,
they were kicked out of
and the calamities just befell them. I think they've been very humble. They are just watching things, how things unfold. And I like the fact that their players have been doing it. The only problem that I still have with them is, you don't spend a lot of money on buying players like that, and you only bought Nicolas Jackson as your main man. That is the only problem that I see in that team.
For the season.
And for the entire season, it's not looking like Cole Palmer isn't the same player we saw last season again, because a whole lot of things are not ticking. But they are still managing to stay on their grind. They are currently playing in the Conference League this time around. I'm sure their target is to get better. And so far, so good. It's not a bad first season under Enzo Maresca.
Of course, I agree.
They might just go like that this way till the end of the season. By next week, we'll begin to see hammers falling here and there. But against West Ham United, it's a London derby too. They just have to watch it. West Ham are without key players because of injuries and all of that. But it's January and they're trying to reshuffle certain things. I think Chelsea can still take advantage of it.
If they win, they get into top 4.
If they win, they get
into top 4. They go back into the top 4 with 41 points. And then, then you live to fight another day and then see where it takes them. Perhaps not getting them to the top. Because since Maresca and his boys started feeding into we are not in the title race, somehow indeed
they've fallen off.
They got kicked out of the title race. Very quickly, we switch over now to Spain, where there was a shock defeat for Real Madrid, 1-0. They are still topping the log at the moment, 1 point between them and Atletico Madrid. There's something about these shock losses in Spain. The other day, it was Leganés beating Atletico Madrid. Even Barcelona this weekend could just nick a 1-0 victory. Nothing about getting anything more than that. It was a very tricky tie. But somehow they got 3 points. Real Madrid lost all 3 points. Atletico got 3 points, 2-0. The top of La Liga right now, is still very tricky. Very, very tricky.
This week it looks like one team is on a fast pace. The next week you see that it's like they are waiting for the rest to come meet them. That's just the way I see the La Liga title race. But it was quite surprising for me to see Madrid go down the way they did. Maybe if Espanyol had scored earlier,
there could have been a comeback.
We'll have seen another character from Real Madrid. But at the end of the day, what we are seeing Ancelotti and the likes cry about is the foul on Kylian Mbappe.
That should have been a red card
and all of that. and they got a response too. If I was Espanyol's coach too, I got a 1-0, a priceless 1-0 victory.
Yeah.
I won't know whatever Real Madrid are talking about.
Just move on. It's out of relegation now, so
let's just move on.
Let's
just move on. But I think Barcelona are the ones who have a lot of work to do. They lost one of their players, not so there was an head collision. And the player had to walk off. I hope he will be fit in that because he will be key. I saw the start of that game before I switched attention to United yesterday, but I think
it was quite drab.
It was quite
drab.
Yes.
Yeah, it was very. I mean, it was
very.
One has to just. I mean,
so
how
they need to turn up the heat much more in subsequent games if they really want to close the gap on Real Madrid and catch up.
All right, very quickly, let's move over now to UFC. Just before the fight between Israel Adesanya and Nasruddin Imanov, I mean, like I said earlier, everybody assumed somewhere in their head that this was going to be a comeback for Israel. He was going to use this in mounting a fight for the bigger challenges later in the future. In fact, at some point, Pereira was actually posting him on social media saying, "Go easy." But, nobody was ready to go easy yesterday. Imanov was ready to go hard. And some persons feel like that referee called that fight too early and that Izzy was still going to find a way to wriggle through and stand up. But even if he had stood up, but the referee didn't give him the chance. Do you think that knockout decision by the referee was too early?
I would have to go a little bit deeper into whatever the UFC rule says.
Okay.
But let me just give the referee the benefit of the doubt that
because Izzy kept banging his fist to say why.
Yeah, but I want to believe that the referee had to toe the line of whatever
the rules. Perhaps soft, but those were the rules.
So I want to give the referee that benefit of the doubt that he was going to do that. But like they will say, whatever it will be, is going to be. With the way Israel started, and especially that second round, it was apparent that
soft.
You could go down under that kind of soft challenge, and it's the end of the match. So a bit difficult to take for Israel addicts. Let me put it that way. It will be difficult.
His addicts.
For himself and for his addict, it will be much more difficult to take. But I think the positive, or not just the positive that they can take, but the things they can take away from the match is that a lot more has to go into whatever preparations they are making. If he's going to fight in the remaining days of this year, there will be many more things. We've seen his fights that have gone beyond the third round. I think we've seen one it was a king contest.
Yeah. There was time he even went higher than his weight. Yeah. And we all thought perhaps it's time for him to move on.
Yeah.
But when he got knocked, come back home. If you don't know where you are going, you know where you are coming from.
So I think his team has to put a lot into what they do before fights and all of that. And for him he will need the mental strength to be able to bounce back from this. It's more than speaking immediately after a match.
It's beyond that.
Right now, you don't even know.
He needs redemption right now.
You don't know where he is. You don't know what he's doing at the moment. So he just had to say something immediately after that match.
Something has to be said. Quickly move over to the transfer window that ends 11 p.m. tonight. Lots of persons have been going and coming, moving around. Of course, this night is transfer window. Now, you know how it goes. There will still be deadline day, guys. Yeah. And I'm sure the deadline day Andrew on X will be very busy going tonight. We know the famous football journalist who tweets about transfers. He will probably also be doing that as well tonight. But one that concerns Nigeria, Kelechi Iheanacho was supposed to leave Leicester City and go and revive his career in Sevilla. But it looked like the Sevilla manager was not interested in him because right now he's back in England in the lower leagues. Supposed to be going back to England and going to Middlesbrough. What happened to Kelechi Iheanacho?
I don't think his career was even dying at Leicester City.
He was still coming in by 72,
his contract
75.
ended. Yeah. And he played a very key role
in them coming up.
In them coming back into the Premier League. If he was not surplus to requirement, truly, they will have offered him something. They will have put something on the table for him to sign and say, okay, let's do it. But it looked to me more like he wanted a new adventure. And going to the Serie A, to the La Liga, was like a no-brainer too. He is a kind of player that you think should be able
Survive.
to fit into that space. But I think problems that we've seen from yesteryears are the ones that are coming back. Is Kelechi Iheanacho really a striker?
You know, how did we know him? We knew him in 2013, under 17.
Yeah.
He's somewhere around the 8th.
Roaming behind the striker.
You know, like the bunny face.
Or somewhere on the flanks.
Exactly.
Trying to cut in from
behind the 10
side.
and the 9.
Yes.
And if there's that place is blocked and there's space on the left, he will be there.
He comes in
if there's
that
space
way.
on the right, he will be there. So it's not exactly a 9.
A 9.
But he's a forward.
He's a forward. But so how Sevilla have been able to deploy him this season? I watched about 2 of his games in the La Liga this season, and I saw the way he runs. The passes don't just come. The passes don't come. Unlike when he's a little bit deeper into where most of the actions are taking place, he might be able to contribute more. But we've seen him against lower teams too. He got, like the cup king that he is, he got 3 goals in 2 matches or so in cup competitions for Sevilla. But those are not the kind of games they actually need him for.
That's not why they bought you.
And in response, they went for Ako Adams, another Nigerian striker, a proper
from the French league
striker that they think will fit into the style of their coach and all of that. So now he's on his way to Middlesbrough.
Yeah.
Now this is what I call revival. If he is able to do something, but I don't see him coming back into the Premier League. Highest thing now, highest expectation is if he will be very key to whatever they will be doing at Middlesbrough, maybe he gets them to the playoffs, and from there, let's see if he will be able to come back to the Premier League.
All right, it's time for us to go. January transfer window ends tonight by 11 p.m. I'm very sure many people will be moving around. In the last 48 hours, it has been a clash of private jets, everybody moving around, blah, blah, blah. Alvaro Morata, now striking partner of our own Victor Osimhen, right there in Gala. Lots of players will be moving and going and coming. You know, Rashford already signed with Villa up until the end of the season. Many movings and goings. There will be a lot of checkbooks being signed. Normal things when it comes to football and when it comes to January transfer window. But that is how we say our buys here on the show. Hopefully we'll be here again next week on Monday. This is the first episode of the month of February 2025. God willing, we'll be here again next week. Thank you very much to Biodun for being a part of this show today. Thank you the most to you, the viewer, for watching, because like I always say, we are here because you are there. Have a fantastic week. Stay out of trouble. God bless you.